sure you are going to learn a lot about this community, UMUERI, the origin of UMUERI. Because of this our meeting, two people will be talking to you, then I will round it up. One of them is, his name is Pastor Ben Agape. He will address you, and if you have questions, you can ask. Any of us can answer any question you ask, not necessarily himself alone. He will address you. And like I said, if there's anything you want to know about UMUERI, or anything you want to, any question you want to ask about social, political, and otherwise of UMUERI or even Nigeria, we're ready to answer you. The one we don't know the answer, we tell you we are not sure of it, we don't know. Thank you very much. So may I call on Master Ben Agape to handle the second part.
And children and visitors, I welcome you to UMUERI. Fathers of His Royal Majesty, Dr. Sir Ben Agape, Agape the second of UMUERI. I am so happy for the talk that Chief has given. He has tried to give a kind of overview or capture. He has touched quite a lot of things. So let me go touch a few specific things. I know that the question that is primary in all our thoughts is, who are the UMUERI people? Where do they come from? The leader in the has said in a few points. I think we need to put some background behind underneath of what he has said. The history of UMUERI, I think one should say that it's one of the most documented, or the best documented of histories, because the earliest part of it is fully recorded in the Bible. For brevity, I want to skip things that you can easily Google and things that you can easily refer to the Bible. We are Bible students. The Bible tells us that there was a man called Jacob, and they had 12 sons. And these sons went into Egypt in captivity. And this Jacob had a son called Gad, the fifth son called Gad. And this Gad had a number of children. Among these children of Gad, you had Eri, you had Aroeli, you had Riam, and a number of, you can easily check it from your Bible, children of Gad. They spent some time in Egypt. You know the facts of that. And at some point, God delivered them, and they left Egypt and went back to their place, settled for some time, and then a section of the children of Israel left. Today we call them the lost tribes of Israel. And these people were led mostly by the Eri family of the tribe of Gad. But when Eri left, this was after the first settlement, when they came back after the Exodus, settled back in Canaan. Gad and Manasseh and others on the eastern bank. But sometime before the advent of kingship, these tribes, this section, this number of families left. And until recently, history has not been able to account for them. The Israelites knew, everybody knew that this section of Israelites were missing. So, but what we are learning now, documentation, history, oral history, everything is showing us is that these families left and began, I will say, began to go back to their roots, because there is an argument. Some people say that UMUERI people and Igbos, by extension, came from Israel. But we also know, I asked people, how did they know where to go when they left, when they were displaced, when they were looking for where to settle? How did they know where to go? They decided to go back home. I will leave that out now. So these people started traveling, crossed the Nile again to the Ethiopia area. In their journey, they encountered a river called Omo River in Ethiopia, which they had to cross. They entered the Sudan and started traveling westwards till eventually they arrived at the banks of the Omabala River here, which we know as Ezu and Omabala. Ezu is a tributary of the Omabala River. They arrived there and settled there. The families that settled there is mostly the Eri family. Now there is, well, like I've said, I need to mention this because there are some inconsistencies when we come into the question of Igwedo, who Igwedo is, the identity of Igwedo. You have to understand that the people that left Israel at that time consisted mainly of the Eri family. But along with them were other groups like Arodi, who are brothers of the same area. And at that time, you remember that the tribe of Levi had been separated and dedicated to God. They didn't have an inheritance. They didn't have a geographical location. So what happened was that they were distributed among the various tribes, the 12 tribes. So Joshua, what are the tribes? Judah had Judah, but they had some of the Levites attached to them, and that is where it is. So among the children of Eri who left, had a section of the tribe of Levi attached to them that went with them, just like every tribe in Israel had a section of the Levites also attached to them. So the Levites came with them, and their cousins, their nieces came with them. Some people who have tried to revise this history claim that Eri is their father and Eri came somewhere and settled. That would be very funny because Eri himself did not leave Egypt. Eri himself was a son of Gad. Gad went with Jacob into Egypt, which means that the time Gad lived was at least 400 years before the Exodus from Egypt. So his son, Eri, could not have survived into the 3rd century of that. So by the time they were leaving Egypt, Eri himself must have been at least 300 years old. Eri didn't travel with them back to Israel. They died before that. But the children of Eri left. And among the people that left Israel and started coming this way, they were led by a man called Dabao, who was of the Levite tribe, one of the Levites. Then they came and settled here. Like I said, among them, you have the children of Riam and others. They settled here. And those descendants of those people that settled, the children of Eri, are the people today we call UMUERI. What does Umu mean? These are direct children of Eri. They came and settled here. But like I said, there were cousins and others that came with them. After they settled here, some sections of those cousins moved and began to settle in different places. Diane and his brother settled around Ogodo. If you want to see Ogodo, we can take you here. You have a bus. After that, please don't call Ogodo. You know, their section, they are actually brothers of Dabao at Umueri. So today, Umueri will have Umueri now here. Both Diane, you can see it in the Bible. they moved. All the places you see mentioned in the Bible, you have them here in UMUERI, in this family, in this. I am UMUERI. Yes, I'm UMUERI. That is the same realm you have in the Bible. So as you go around UMUERI, you see children of each of those people mentioned in the Bible. So anyone that wants to doubt UMUERI's position as children of Eri, we have to explain how all the tribes, the sons of God, are also present here.
In the present.
Yes, you can go to each of them now and say this is this, and they will identify. If we have the time now, these people here, I'm going to mention, you will see those children, those people that left Israel. Each of these people here. You see, but because every family was the predominant one, and they embraced all of them, including the children of Levi, who are their priests who came with them. All of us began to answer UMUERI, because we have the same foundation, the same heritage, and we came together and have remained together. After some time, like I said, waves of dispersal began. Waves of dispersal. UMUERI, if you like, after this discussion, we can take you where UMUERI was living. We still have their shrine there, where they were living. Where they had a kind of bodybuilding shrine, that is their temple. They still have the big God where they used to worship. And then at Ngriaka, where they lived. Before from that place, they now moved to Achala. From Achala, they began to move till they settled where they are now. And that's the way different peoples moved, not at the same time. They began to dispersed. Eventually, some settled at Oka. Some settled. There are families here, and I think I have at least one or two of the families that gave the skill of Rosu to Oka. The real custodian. Like Chief has told you, even their group will not explain how the things that they have turned up in their place. My personal first contact. Today, I'm director of Center for Research in Igbo History and Culture. But my first contact with this history was when I was University of Nigeria, and I had to do a research paper. I had to do some research on it. At that time, I was a Lagos boy. I was born here, but I was bred. So I didn't know anything about UMUERI. And in my research, I had to go to several stages. I have to start with the University of Nigeria Library. After the University of Nigeria Library, then to the national libraries, we are very familiar with at Lagos, the different libraries. Reading up. It was in the course of this reading of Agape, I came in contact with the works of Thurston, that he mentioned, Elizabeth Isiche, and these are all white people, a lot of them white Germans. And they were talking about my community, UMUERI. For the first time, I heard of the historical significance from white people. And my interest, it became more than a project, more than a classroom project. I became personally interested. And so when I had done with that overview, and I came down here, and my mother began to take me from village to village. All the villages are Anambra and the locality. I'm talking about 1980, early 1980. Each of the oldest men in each of the communities in the 2-3 local governments around here, I met them and talked with them about 1980. So I began to hear from the white researchers the significance of where we are. It was that time I began to remember that when I was very young, when we used to go to farm, this just across here, just across the road pass there. That in those days, when we were farming, I was very small. We used to dig out pots, dig out old iron utensils. We would destroy them, throw them. We didn't count them to be anything. Later, University of Nigeria, I began to understand that if I knew now what I know then, what if I knew then what I know now, that these were treasures that were destroyed. The whites have come on several expeditions to dig up those places. and you begin to find ancient settlements. A lot of the material you have at the museum at UMUERI are actually from there. But you know that our people did not embrace Christianity and the white man's ways on time. So they labeled all these places. Whatever they dug up from our place, they took to UMUERI and named all of them UMUERI. So a lot of the material there are being traced back. And at this time, everybody is trying to bring back what they lost to the whites. And we too, we are commencing a project to return to UMUERI, the things that were taken from UMUERI. Some of them in English, some of them and in different places. This basically is the foundational history of UMUERI. But when you begin to ask questions, we can be a little more specific. And then we are talking about the political history of UMUERI. One thing that can help us is that, like I said, I'm Director Center for Research in World History and Culture. And we have a number of YouTube channels, which you can access. In an interview that I recently had with one of the fourth oldest man in UMUERI, that was last week, on the 1st of February, I interviewed with the fourth oldest man in UMUERI. And he spoke extensively on the political development, And what happens? You see, a lot of the time when currently there's this movement among black people, Nigerians, Africans who want to go back to our roots. And when they say they want to go back to Europe, what they mean is that I want to start doing Omenana. I don't want Christianity again. I want to do Omenana. And when you see them do, what do they mean by Omenana? When my wife just came back here, the first thing she called me and said, "How is that so many goats pass here? Every Okada is carrying one goat. Where are they taking the goats to for sacrifices?" And this is what I young people call Omenana. I'm a pastor, but I have decided to champion the cause. I believe in Omenana. I believe in our culture. But the problem is that these idol worshippers are so clever. They want justification for what they are doing. So they want to say they are doing, they sew a garment of Omenana and put it on their idolatry. So our assignment is to separate the idolatry from Omenana, so that over Christmas, I was going with my daughter for an assignment there, and one of these masquerades came and said he was going to flog me and my daughter. And these people want to do Omenana. It's not Omenana as they are doing their mom and something. And the man actually ended up flogging both me and the girl. And you are doing Omenana, and you are flogging somebody old enough to be your father. Is that our culture? No. Idolatry is not our culture. Because idolatry is a stranger to Igbo land. We came from Israel, and you know what the Israelites viewed idolatry as. Coming out of there, we didn't have any idolatry. I've argued this so many times. At the time, I spent 3 days at Agape shrine, and I entered places there that even the priests there were surprised. So that when I talk about these things, I know what I'm talking about. I challenge some of them. Every idol in UMUERI, every idol in Igbo land has a name, it has a place it came from. They will tell you, none of them is indigenous to this place. So, if you are connecting it to the political development and history of our place, you find that when we first came, we were being ruled by our elders, just like in Israel. Our elders. In the recent interview I had with teacher Sam, he was talking about the Apali that originally we had the rule by the elders, which goes, let me say, in recent history, from their age grade around 1885. And so they finished. They handed over to another age grade, to another age grade, to another age grade. That one is running through. But at some point, we embraced again. Something happened. like they have mentioned, UMUERI people have been known to be warriors and priests. And many times people have sought our help, especially the Benin Kingdom that had their roots. Whenever they had problems, they will run here for spiritual assistance. And our priests will go to help them. And something like that happened about 1500. They came and asked for our help in their wars. And we sent 3 of our sons to go there and assist them. They delivered them, and the Benin people achieved their independence in the end. About 1540, those young men came back. And one of the things they came back with was the institution of kingship, which we didn't have before. That is the first time we had a king, Eze, we had Ono, and the chieftaincy. This was an importation into our culture. So at that time now, we now had two institutions in the politics of UMUERI. You have our normal traditional rule on the basis of bariatrics, the oldest patriarchy, the oldest ruling and transmitting. We still have it today in UMUERI. I think the current people ruling in that line now is yes, that's Mbalawan. They are coming uninterrupted from our history to that present group. I think eventually it will get to me also. And then eventually around 1540, that kingship system was introduced from Benin, and began to run side by side with that patriarchy, the two of them. It is that kingship system that has been integrated into our cultural system that will have His Majesty here today. Then, eventually, the white people came with their colonial system, and they gave us the system, another system of chiefs. You know, the warrant chief system and things, and they began to rule. Among that group, we have someone like Chief Okoye, or the ancestor of Princess Adigo here. Her grandfather was one of those warrant chiefs. I think here I can also see offspring of 1 or 2 of the other warrant chiefs that ruled. So you now have three streams of rulership. And then eventually we developed this system of PG. Our people from UYA, UMUERI Youth Assembly, UPU, UMUERI Progressive Union, developed by the people of our local age grade, about people born around 1920. They began to bring modern administrative principles. You know, it was no longer rulership by the oldest, has been coming down. Then anybody could be elected based on your knowledge and your popularity. So from UPU to UYA, and from UYA we now have UGA, that where Chief Johnny Mechie is the general overseer. So this forms a kind of very brief summary of the political development of UMUERI. Today we have as our head of state His Royal Majesty Dr. Sir Benedict JP, Opiebo II of UMUERI. And working with him as a sort of prime minister is the President General of UMUERI General Assembly, who executes the decisions and the choices. His Majesty, by his position, is restricted in movement and the association, but the PG is the external manifestation of his power. Today, that seat is occupied by His Eminence Ambassador Dr. Johnny Mechie, AC UMUERI. Thank you. So that is a brief. If you ask questions, then we can. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to do something after that, I'll allow you to.
Oh, if there is one thing we used to say in Egypt, no, for me, fellow, I'm more than
Now stop calling you.
Oh,
Stop calling.
that's right.
Stop calling.
Oh, if I never
Stop
asked you
calling.
of really fellow, so when you told me, for me, I definitely was. Oh, if I never attract. And what I'm seeing here is just a replicate of what I witnessed in Rubia Shepherd's Palace. Coming down to give you what you want. And see, you know that this teaching is actually what you need. You know, some persons, there was one kid, when I wrote to Obi, when I wrote to the Oba of Benin, that I want my students, not everybody, I just want few of my students to visit, to have inquiry. One man there, I don't know who he is, and I told him I'm coming back for him. One man said that we are coming to ask the Oba to give us something. That we should just write and say, the way he said it, he's speaking in broken language. You just just tell the Oba to family or something now. This is what they come. I said, come, okay. What we are looking for is not material things. There are things you will give to these young people now. It will be better than money. And this is what they need. Knowledge. They say knowledge is power. What you give to these children now, if you give them 1 million now, by next year, it will no longer be there. But this knowledge now, till tomorrow, is still there. So, and this is what we are having here. So, I'm only interrupting with Thanksgiving that so far we have satisfied our requests. And if I sit down and they will ask me questions, well, let me just applaud Igwe. The one can I already. Then the first now, one and one again. So, Louisiana, almost they will ask.